Welcome to CFO 4.0, the future of finance. The CFO role is changing rapidly, moving from cost controller to strategic visionary. And with every change comes opportunity. We are here to help you take advantage of this transition, to win at work, drive your career forwards, and lead with confidence. Join Hannah Munro, Managing Director of ITAS, a financial transformation consultancy, as she interviews key experts to give you real-world advice and guidance on how to transform your processes, people, and data. Welcome to CFO 4.0, the future of finance.
So hello everybody and welcome to this episode of CFO 4.0, and we're actually really excited. Not only is one of my first times recording in person, but I get to do it with an actual customer. So I'd like to say a very warm welcome to Matt Robinson from Zebra Pens. It's great to have you joining me today.
Nice one, thank you for having us.
And not only in your lovely offices, I have to say with some of the best and most appropriate wallpaper we've seen.
It's dazzling, isn't it? Let's put it that way.
You can't get away from it. So Matt, just tell us a little bit about yourself. So how did you end up here at Zebra?
Yeah, it's been a long journey, I guess. I started out in audit with KPMG, it's one of the big four accountancy firms, auditing some of the largest companies in the UK. Then took a career break and went back into audit with a small one-office firm, and enjoyed feeling like you actually wanted when you're coming into these businesses and in the audit room, like you were dealing with small, maybe family-owned businesses, owner-managed businesses that actually valued your input. And I think it's at that point I realised kind of being in small business was what I wanted to do. You're actually making an impact, making a difference. So that was my time in audit. And then I moved into industry with a company called Henry Bath in Liverpool. So that's a global warehousing and logistics of exchange traded commodities, which was interesting. It was a huge learning curve. I went in as an internal auditor and I was promoted to accountant for the Benelux countries there. So that was good. I learned a lot, and that's where I really started learning about internal management accounts, how I can leverage different processes to work for me, take the weight off me, and really automate what I was doing. That's probably the word I'm looking for, automate there. And then took a bit of a gear shift, and a bit of a passion project opportunity came up where the football club I support, Tranmere Rovers, were looking for a new head of finance. So I moved there. As head of finance and company secretary. Only ended up there for 18 months, but it was, again, a huge learning curve. It's pulling itself in so many different directions, just trying to turn a dime in a way, trying to just get that edge, get that extra bit of revenue to then put that money onto the pitch. Just an entirely new way of thinking about business compared to where I'd been previously. And then opportunity came up at Zebra, which was too good to turn down. And I came in as finance manager, and I've just been promoted to financial controller. So that's me.
Fantastic. And I guess obviously you look after the finance function here at Zebra. I guess what's your philosophy or your vision for how you want finance to operate?
Shouldn't take itself too seriously. Shouldn't be a blocker to letting people get on with their day jobs and do business. There's absolutely zero need to be putting in all the hours and pulling all-nighters. Leverage as much as you can so that you can get that laptop lid down and go home. I know it's not what finance is all. I know it from KPMG. I did work till like 2 a.m. some mornings on certain clients. Like, I have been there, but it's not what it's about at all. It's about efficiencies and being able to switch off at the end of the day. It really is.
And I think that's so important. So a lot of people are probably sitting here listening to this going, yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to be able to walk away at 4 o'clock, shut the laptop and not worry. But talk a bit about like how you approach that. What have you thought about in order to get yourselves there?
I, rightly or wrongly, know that I can't control absolutely everything. So I don't know, maybe is it more of a risk-based approach? You kind of accept that if your processes are sound, if you train the people around you appropriately enough to spot certain things, you're appropriately trained yourself and keeping on top of any, current technologies, current legislation, whatever it is. And if you have like all these things in place around you, then matters shouldn't slip through the cracks. It's what, you're building up your defense layers in a way. And if you've got everything in place around you, those solid foundations, then that should mean that those instances that cause you to like have to stress and pull all-nighters or worry about this and worry about that should all be absorbed by everything around you, I think. It's another huge thing as well, particularly in small business, and slight gear shift from what I was just saying. If you know what's happening with your cash flow, everything else drips off it. If you're in control of your cash, if you have a really good understanding of your cash flow cycle, and 52 weeks down the line, like where your cash should be and exactly what's going on with the ins and outs to that, then you can sleep easy at night. If cash is fine, then that, everything else will drip off it. For me.
Yeah. Cash is king. Like we've been saying that for years, and it's so true.
Yeah.
And so you obviously mentioned about thinking about automation processes, but also you mentioned you can't control everything, so you need to risk assess.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you find that balance between letting people just get on with the job, but also making sure that you have got the right controls in place?
I guess on the people side, if I forget to answer the second part, please remind me. On the people side, look, working in small business, you cannot micromanage. You've got people that they'll end up taking on funny responsibilities. There'll be a gap, and you go, well, that person who's doing that as their core role has a bit of capacity, so they just end up taking on a responsibility that might not strictly be in a large company. They wouldn't be doing those two. You've got to trust that you hire the right people who have a broad range of skills that isn't too specific, and then you can hand them these different tasks, and they'll take it on and relish it. And that's the great thing about working in a small business. Anyone coming in is going to have exposure to a lot of different facets of the business, and you got to trust people as well. And if they make mistakes, it's fine. You're there to train them and help them along, and guess that's it. It's just trust. You get the hire right in the first place, and then trust them to just let that shine through, I guess. Second part of what you were saying, controls.
Controls, yeah, because with automation, I think sometimes it can be a bit scary to just let the system do its job. And I think with AI coming, that's going to be even more scary, right? Because it's starting to think for itself a little bit. So how do you think about finding the balance between automation and control?
Automation and control. I think the big, again, in small business, is actually winning people over and kind of bringing them with you on that. If you implement any control or try and automate any process, but the people don't get the buy-in and don't want to shift away from their previous manual process, then it's going to fail anyway. So it really is that kind of explaining to people why you're making that change, why you're doing something, while you're implementing something, and making sure everyone comes along with you on that. I think that's the biggest thing. So it is the people aspect of it. So as an example here, credit control, our approach to credit control, we don't have a credit controller. We don't have the luxury of being able to employ someone to just do credit control. So we have a kind of layering in place that puts the onus back on the sales team to kind of check that the customer's credit control history is sound, and then they can process the next order. And we got a lot of pushback on that. People asking, well, I'm not a credit controller. Why are you getting me to do that? But actually, it's just a few common sense steps. It's showing them in Sage Intacct where to go and actually find this information for themselves. It's literally just a click, and you've got your answer, and you don't need to come and bother me and wait a few hours for your answer. So as an example, that's how you kind of bring people along with you. Show, look, it's really simple. Just go this, there, and there's your answer, and you can move on with your day without having to wait for an answer from me. So that very simple example.
Yeah, but it's actually a really good piece because I think sometimes we underestimate the power of actually enabling the wider organization to have access to finance.
Yeah.
I do spend a bit of my time trying to convince people to let other people see into what's happening in finance, getting access to that data. So that's obviously something you've really embraced.
Yeah, it was every industry role I've been in. That's been the cornerstone. It's teaching the non-finance. My non-finance colleagues, what they should be looking for, how they can look at some numbers, look at those kind of fairly basic management information I'm giving them, and kind of spot things for themselves, spot trends, stuff like that. Yeah, I was particularly in my previous role at Tranmere Rovers. A lot of micro departments. It was 13 departments, really, and that's, don't know, stadium catering to the club shop to the international business. And so you got 13 managers there who not from a financial background at all. So I'd send them management accounts every month and they just didn't know what I was sending them. So we had workshop sessions teaching them, I'd teach all the managers like what they're looking for, what this means, what gross profit means, what a ratio is, fairly basic stuff like that. And straight away, they're more passionate about what they're doing because they're understanding the end result and what management are then looking at, or senior management are then looking at and expecting of them a bit better, particularly when, payroll's linked to maybe performance as it could be at manager level. Suddenly they get a lot more interested, and it just takes so much weight off the finance team if you've got managers going out and spotting things and trying to I don't know whether it's reduce costs or improve a margin somewhere, and if they're doing that for you without you having to get into the numbers yourself and look at that, it just takes so much weight off,
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned obviously if you think about the organization now, so what are people accessing now that perhaps they didn't prior to you guys shifting to Sage Intacct?
So I think real-time customer information is a big one. Going back to this thing of credit control, they can, on the spot see, is their customer account up to date? They can get some really good information on kind of their current margins. When they're talking about pricing, if they can offer any discounts, they can see like what the throughput is for each customer, and they can kind of decide on whether a customer's entitled to a discount or a rebate or whatever sales mechanism it is. They're using data and a bit of science to inform that decision rather than just a bit of a finger in the air type thing. It just across the board, particularly with Sage Intacct, it's just across the board in improving the time or reducing the time it's taken to just get current information into people's hands. I think that's been the huge thing, really. We had Sage 200 previously, which was a great system, but it could be a bit slow, it could be a bit clunky. I find the flows in Sage Intacct just make sense, how you navigate between screens and kind of that process through getting information. It makes a lot more logical sense. And then the obvious thing is, with it being cloud-based, you're not worried about your system going down. Like Sage 200, if your server was having a funny day, you could just not have access to it for 3 hours, So that was a big thing. So I think just all around, I can't really put my finger on like one huge gear shift that's given the business, but it's really just nudged the entire business along. And as we get further into developing Sage, this is the great thing about Sage Intacct. We haven't just got a system, we've turned it on and that's it now forever. Like, we're just going to continue developing it, and we've got some I understand I can't name them individually, but we've got some great developers working with us at ITAS who like really get the business, and they're really passionate about like improving our system to improve our business.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the important thing. And what I love is that you've got that attitude, because I think a lot of people come into, I'm just going to suffer through the initial implementation and then it's just going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it takes a change in mindset, especially when you've got regular releases, there's always new tech coming out, to have, I guess, that continuous improvement mindset.
Yeah.
And how do you roll that through finance? Because obviously you guys, and we'll talk about this in a bit, had a bit of a tough initial start to your implementation. Like now you're through, it's live, it's working. How are you, I guess, trying to make sure that the team are focused on continuously making it better?
Yeah, well, taking a step back, I said during our kind of internal catch-ups throughout the development phase, I just said, when we go live, it is, can't swear, can I? I said,
we can beep it out.
It's going to be difficult, is what I said.
Not quite.
Yeah. I said, nothing works as you hope when you go live, or if it does, then well done to you. I said, it will be difficult. It's going to need continuous development, and it's going to need my team here, or our team here, sorry. It's a feedback, because I'm not getting into the nitty-gritty of processing orders and kind of working with the system on that granular level in certain aspects of the system. So, I need your feedback on what's going on, and said to them, actually, you know what, just don't come through me, go direct to ITAS with your kind of development points. And they've done that, and that's been great. And I think so. Again, it's that great small team mentality. They don't have to go through layers to develop things. We can just go bypass me, go direct to ITAS. Here's a development that's going to make my life easier. Do it. And what really helps is you get a response from ITAS almost instantly. I don't want to promise that.
Yeah,
that's
please
your
don't.
promise to make it. In our experience, it's been very quick. You're not waiting. I hate it when you get that automated email back. We are very busy at the moment. Are you always that busy? And we'll get back to you within 3 to 5 working days. It's like, right, okay. So it's, in our experience, you don't get that at all. It's you don't get that horrible automated email response straight away. You get a human coming back to you very quickly.
I must admit, that's always that's the piece that I'm personally really passionate. I think it's really important that when you're stuck or you need something, you can reach out and speak to a human. We had a lot of debate about, automated systems, but for me, it was always super important that you can pick up the phone, or send an email, whatever method you want to use, rather than just waiting for a response back in an online system. So yeah, I'm really glad that you've had that experience, and I won't promise any of that we'll deliver within a second.
Yeah,
but
Hannah's face when I said that.
Oh my God. But I think we've always had that philosophy of, under promise and over deliver. And it sounds like you guys have enjoyed working with the support team, and that's super important.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. It's been an absolute pleasure, genuinely. And yeah, as you touched on, ITAS were not our initial development partner for Sage Intacct. The decision that was made prior to me joining Zebra, which I hasten to add, was to use a different partner, and I just think they misunderstood what we were trying to get at. We were trying to change things in our system to now allow more dynamic reporting. We need to get into quite granular detail about our products. So we have like maybe 700 different SKUs, and many more are coming on board all the time. And we need to report back to our parent in Japan, maybe about different collections of SKUs. They all form into different types of pens. It's something I'm still learning about, but we need to get quite granular on that reporting. And Sage 200 wasn't letting us do it. It was a lot of download the report and a lot of manual work around our system, whereas we wanted to get as much of that in Intacct as possible. And I think the previous development partner just kind of misunderstood, and it was a very fixed solution they came up with, which just didn't work. And I knew we had to go in a different direction because they weren't. So I know you didn't necessarily ask this, by the way, but it does bring us to like how we can really harness Sage Intacct. And yeah, from the first call with our developer at ITAS, they just completely understood what I was getting at. And actually, it was actually we needed a very simple solution, and it was just about harnessing the dimensions in Sage Intacct properly. And once the penny dropped in my head on how that worked, because your developer explained it quite simply and knew what they were doing. I felt like the previous developer just didn't fully understand that dimension system and how it could be harnessed. Whereas obviously you guys been using the system, first UK company to bring it in. So you knew exactly how to answer our needs, and that will be the biggest thing in the long run when we can fully. We're still learning, like we've only just come on board of Intact, excuse me. So we still have a lot of learning to do on how we fully harness the full power of what the system has. But I know we're set up properly. That's the main thing now.
Yeah.
I know we've got the starting point correct. We'll only improve from that.
Now, for the £1 million question. What is the best finance software for your business? Is it A, Sage 50? Is it B, Sage 200 Standard? C, Sage 200 Professional? Or D, Sage Intact? An impossible question to answer without a lifeline. But we have the perfect lifeline for you. Our free quiz, Which Sage product is right for you? Will tell you which product is the best fit for your business in just 5 minutes. All you need to do is head to www.itassolutions.co.uk and answer a few simple questions.
So one of the things I think is really important that you brought out, and I think a lot of people forget about it, is that when you're implementing a finance system, it's not a technical implementation. It's a data, it's a process, and it's a technical piece. And I think your part about understanding your data structure. So obviously in Intact we have dimensions, and we are very lucky. They are incredibly flexible. But whatever implementation you're working on, I think one of the key things that people need to think about is what they want out of it. I think everyone focuses on what they put in without thinking about the reporting, and then they end up with a challenge that you guys had in terms of it not quite delivering what you wanted out. So how did you think about the data structures and the reporting and how you put that together in order to get the solution that you've got today?
That was it for me. Look, any account system can process some invoices and apply. Every account system at its core is the same. As an auditor, I used to go into businesses and 1 week here, 1 week there, and every business had a different account system. You just need to learn how to get in quickly, and you quickly learn every account system at its core does the same thing. So for me, it was very much the starting point was the end point, which sounds a bit, can't say that word out there.
Start with the end in mind.
Yeah. And it was very much like what was the point in changing system? It was to get much more enhanced reporting at the back end and reduce the amount of, as I just said, the amount of off-system workaround I was having to do and running formulas and pivots and stuff to find information needed to get as much of that in as possible. And as well, we have blind spots in our reporting to head office. It can be quite boring stuff, but we have a pen, and it could just look like a straightforward pen, but to us, it's like, what type of ink does it have? What type of barrel does it have? What finish has it got on the barrel? And we really have to go into that granularity, and head office really needs to get into that. And this is about knowing whether we discontinue certain lines or push certain lines, or is the pricing right? And then it also comes into transfer pricing as well, but that's a whole different matter. So we do really need that granularity. So I knew we had to get that endpoint right, and that was the focus really. I mean, I don't come from a technical background. I'm more of I have an accountancy degree, but it's an arts degree. I'm from a social sciences background, so I'm not massively technical. So for me, it's definitely that architecture of what you can get out the back end. The inputs into any account system are always the same, so I don't really worry about that. You wouldn't be offering me a product that didn't do the basics, simple as that. So yeah, I think that's where we are really.
And it must have been quite a challenge because obviously, so do you want to just talk about the scenario that you guys had? Obviously, you came in, was it in the middle of the implementation? Sorry, it was at the beginning of the implementation? Or at what point did you get start with Zebra?
Yeah, it's I think kind of initial. So with the previous developer, I think initial scope and calls had taken place, but that was done by. So I was the first kind of in-house senior finance hire the company had ever made. It had previously been outsourced.
Oh, okay.
So initial consultation was done with an external accountant as well. So again, probably just focusing on the core inputs rather than worrying about from a management information point what's coming out the other end. So yeah, I came in as we were starting the development piece, and as I said, we weren't just trying to go like for like. We were trying to add these new dimensions and really enhance what we were doing. And so I was trying to, how do I put it? We weren't just going from trying to replicate exactly one position to another. We were trying to do more. And it's just my mindset really. It's like why change one thing when you could change 10, and make it better for everyone. So just push it all through in one go. It's fine. I'm very much not that, oh, let's take change slowly. I'm very much, let's just change what we can overnight if it's gonna make everything better for everyone. So I mean I did come in early on development process, but it was quite a fraught process with the previous developer. And I think maybe it was because I was probably slightly changing my scope as we went on, which I know is a nightmare for any developer. Like if the person on the other side doesn't match your mindset, then I think that's the huge thing. And again, that maybe just look at the draw and the availability of the developer for my tasks we had. But again, that individual just has the complete same mindset as me and just totally gets what I'm trying to do about changing all these things at the same time. So yeah, we just struck lucky there. But there was a particular, it was when the dimensions thing wasn't captured, and I'm doing my own research online and kind of seeing what Sage Intacct should be doing. And when the previous developer wasn't offering that full capability, I kind of knew something was wrong. And you didn't ask, but the particular reason I got in touch with Vitas was because there was one particular thing I was trying to do. I was trying to apply a contra, simple as that. I was just trying. We have a lot of contra arrangements because just the nature of the business we're in, dealing with large retailers, and I didn't know how to do it. Sage 200 had really good functionality. So it's one slight downside of Sage Intacct that we can give it the contra functionality for whatever that's worth isn't great. And I was just trying to find out how to do it, and I just Googled how to do it, and ITAS guide on how to apply contras, and thought, well, that worked pretty well. I'll pick up the phone to them, and very glad I did.
Well, it's great that you've had that experience, and I think from my perspective, there's a key part here is, so I'm a big believer in matching consultants to customers, right? Because I do feel like you've got to have somebody who's on your wavelength and gets how you operate. And we often will have a discussion internally about who should we match with this one, both in terms of industry. I think experience obviously matters in terms of do they work, but it's also about personalities and cultures and how how they think can often be a factor in that and what the customer needs. So it's lovely to feel that we really got it right with you guys.
You absolutely did. You really did.
So tell us a little bit. Obviously, it's not just about the technology, it's about the people. So obviously you came in and perhaps the guys were dealing with a lot of change. How have you helped them through that process? Talk about, I guess, the people side of the change.
Yeah, it really is the biggest side of any change project. Like I've already said, you have to bring people along with you. If you don't get the buy-in from people, then you can implement whatever system you want. It's never going to work, or might take longer to work. Is probably the truth. So yeah, I just have regular sessions with people, almost like constant reassurance that, it's going to be painful in the short term, because any system change is painful in my experience. It's you don't make a system change because just fancy it as a bit of fun.
It's not something, well, us
Yeah.
crazy people like doing it for fun,
Maybe,
but most
yeah.
normal finance
Yeah, I guess
people.
that's why you've gone into that business. Yeah.
Exactly.
But no, it was, and a lot of the people we've got working here haven't been through a system change before, and certainly haven't been at a high level where it's impacted them. They've been an active part of making the change work. Whereas I have been through a few things in my career, and I've kind of led on to maybe not of this scale, not a complete new account system, but I have been through different system changes, and so I just reassured them, like, I've got experience of this. I'm the right person for you to be leading this, but also, your input is going to really be needed to make it work. As I said, reminding people it's not going to be straightforward. When we go live, it won't be perfect from day one. It will need development, but just saying to people, look, it's fine that it won't work absolutely as we want it to from day one. Not because I had any specific reasons why I knew it wouldn't work. I was just more in general. These things are never perfect, and we're fortunate. We've got a small team, and a small team that's really is passionate about the business, likes coming to work here. It's a nice place to work. I think just working with a nice product is a great starting point for it. Just gives you that first 1% to enjoy the rest of your day. Simply, I think it does. It does for me anyway.
And I really like the conversation there about, because I think sometimes we feel like we have to be overly positive and this is going to be amazing and really excitement. And I think there's something about being clear about the why behind the direction and being motivational. But there's also a balance about being authentic. Okay, guys, this is going to be tough. Yeah. We will get through it. We will be better once we get through it, but we're going to need, everybody to jump in.
Yeah. So that was the point of, I should have got to, which was that it was that constant reminder of, and the long-term benefits of this are going to be huge. So it is worth the short-term gain. And the reasons why we had to make the change, we haven't just done this because we fancied it. Like, we really did have to move away from the old system and the old kind of backed up on a decrepit server type system that we had. We had to move to a 21st century system. The whole business has gone through a kind of complete root and branch change on how we work operationally, how we work with customers, really getting into the weeds on pushing margins. Frankly, like, we deal in like high volume, low margin stuff. So to really turn the dial, we have to really get into the weeds. If we can like nudge a margin by like a penny on something, it has a huge impact on the bottom line. Yeah, so that's what it's all about. So as a reminder to people, this is the next stage in that process, having a system that's going to let us scrutinize even further what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just going to help the bottom line in the long run. And then the next phase was reminding people that, say the implementation of Sage Intacct is just stage one of 3 new systems that we're coming in. So if you don't jump on board now, you're going to be way behind when we get to the 3rd system. So we've never had a kind of a proper warehouse management system, despite essentially being a wholesale warehousing business. So we're 2 months away from going live on Bright Pearl, which is another Sage product, which will integrate with Sage Intacct, which would be phenomenal. And then the 3rd phase is to bring Shopify on board for both a direct-to-customer sales platform, but also a B2B portal, so our customers can log in and place orders on a portal rather than having to like wait for their salesperson to come and visit them or whatever it is. So yeah, it's really bringing ourselves into the 21st century. I mean, our managing director, Andy, won't mind me saying that we almost got quite lucky in that we had really good contacts with these large retailers and a good product to sell, but the actual processes behind how we were working were quite archaic. And we probably have left a lot on the table over the last few years just because the processes weren't up to scratch, and errors or not getting the margins quite right. But we're putting ourselves in a position to really, really get every last drop out of it now.
And that's the thing, I think. Sometimes it can be hard to justify an investment in new software. You know you need it,
Yeah.
but it's really hard sometimes to put a number on the value of that until you've actually experienced what the good looks like as well. And I think that's always one of the challenges.
It's a huge step so our turnover is about 8 million in the UK, and we're investing, a really good chunky 5-figure sum in these new systems this year alone. And we're fortunate that's self-invested. We haven't been able to, we haven't had to, go and borrow this money or finance it in some way. Like, we are fortunate we've been able to, self-fund this. But yeah, so, and it's a management style as well. I think previously the business, previous managements have just gone, it's not broke, so we won't spend the money.
Yeah.
But we'll just kind of trudge on.
Yeah.
Whereas Andy, our current MD, started about 4 or 5 years ago. He just totally gets the need to like invest and constantly improve. And so that's why I wanted to come and work here, because it just matches my mindset as well.
Yeah, and I guess that's key part. If you're going to lead finance, making sure you've got an MD that you're on the same wavelength with as well.
Exactly. Andy's from a sales background, so self-admittedly just leaves me to get on with it, which is huge. He just trusts that. And I obviously drop enough bits back to it to show that I know what I'm doing. But no, it's again, my attitude that I've thought about of trying, trusting people to get on with their jobs and trusting they have, there's a reason they got offered the job in the first place. And Andy's exactly the same. He's very, he's got enough on his plate to worry about micromanaging me, as particularly as he self-admits, doesn't know much about what I do day to day anyway.
And finding that's important. So when you look back, if you had to give some advice to somebody going into an implementation, right, and based on what your experience, what would you have said to the previous guys about how they think about systems and processes?
That's a good question. I mean, the given is be comfortable with who your implementation partner is. As I said, I kind of changed scope a couple of times during the process. I kind of realized once I got into knowing what the system could do, I wanted to then kind of change how our data was set up to match that. And even we've changed the chart of accounts, actually reduced the size of the chart of accounts. And you need someone who, when you say this to them, they're not going to sort of huff and then go and grumble about how it's a change of scope and immediately jump to, well, it's going to cost more money.
Yeah.
Whereas you just want someone who totally embraces that, works with you and goes, yeah, I think that's a great idea, and how about this? And that's what you need, and then generally just accept that, as I've said a few times now, it's never going to be perfect, and it will be challenging, and there'll be times where you want to scream and not come into work that day, or even not jump on a planned call because it's going to be difficult. But you just have to. Like I say, I'm not massively technical myself, so I'm placing a lot of trust in people to kind of understand sort of my more abstract idea of what's going on and kind of cut through that and get that from a technical point of view. So yeah. I'm comfortable with. We're in the right place now,
Fantastic. And obviously, I guess what's been the impact on the wider business? Have you had any feedback from Andy and the wider team on the change in finance?
Yeah, I think everyone. So we have our kind of operations team is sort of integrated with finance, and that they're processing orders and both sales and purchase orders. So we're sort of more integrated that way. We're not completely separate teams, but just the feedback, even from the first launch of Sage Intacct, you just hear the murmurings of, oh god, this is so much quicker to use, and this is just letting me do my job easier.
So obviously you're not from a traditional sort of accounting and technical background. Like, what do you think that you bring to that sort of finance role that is different because of that?
Yeah, I think I have I'm a probably like a good all rounder. That's why it works in small business.
Yeah.
I think I said, my going back to school, even it was more social sciences and arts type stuff, and with a bit of interest in kind of business and economics. But then, I did work at a big four firm as well, where you are expected to be sort of super technical, but it was admittedly like the side of the job I didn't really excel at. I was better at talking to management about their numbers and maybe leaving the kind of more the technical updates and specifics of you know financial accounting probably more to my colleagues. So I'm able to offer a more rounded service, I think. So and if I'm never going to be able to go into a big corporate and just be treasury
Yeah.
or just be, I don't know, tax planning or something like that. It's just not the way I work. I need to kind of touch across all bases and then lean on experts where I've got gaps in my knowledge. So I do need, in this case, a strong systems developer, but I rely on my kind of my auditors for like sound tax advice. It's it'd be silly to think I was A+ in absolutely every aspect of accounting. So I have to be general. I have to be across everything. But yeah, it's where I am. I'm just not afraid to admit where I've got blind spots.
But I think and I can say from experience, some of the best like leaders that we've had in, and seen massive change in, most of them are. I think everybody's human. There's sometimes this worry about admitting where you've got a gap in knowledge. And actually, I think that's great that you're just going, yeah, and just bring the right people in. That's the point, isn't it?
That's it. I've had experience where that is end users a stick to beat you with, and that's not what you want as well. Like you don't want someone to take advantage of where you're kind of opening up and showing a bit of a weakness. You do need to. You hope someone understands that and works with you and not doesn't exploit it. Yeah, which is something that or you can spot it's happening and you just cut a relationship there if you like that. You're just exploiting this. So yeah, it's no, it's really important to, and I think that helps with the the project management, people leading, whatever you want to call it. It's I think admitting to people that you are on a need for help to get through something is the way to go.
And I think that's some great advice and a great piece to finish the podcast. And I want to say a massive thank you, Matt, for bearing with us while we figure out how to do an in-person podcast. And to our listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I genuinely would love your feedback on the content and the structure, because obviously very different doing it in person, but I actually really enjoyed that. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Of course, as always, if you've got any feedback, if you've got some questions that I should have asked Matt that I didn't quite get to, I'd love to hear them. Please do reach out to me on LinkedIn. And a massive last thank you to Matt for participating.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
One of the hardest things, I think, is actually putting into words what it means to work with myself and the team here at ITAS. Because not only are we a financial transformation consultancy, but we do it using Sage technology. So rather than me tell you how awesome we are, let me introduce one of our customers.
Working with ITAS has dramatically made our lives simpler, because there's just such a knowledgeable team there to help us. Before, we felt the consultants we were working with at another company, it was always a challenge to get information out of them, for them to understand the problem, and it just didn't feel like they were on our team. Working with ITAS, it's almost, we feel like you are all employed with us to work with us to do it. It's an absolutely fantastic relationship, and it's just made it such a smoother process and an absolute fun process, working in Sage Intact and coming on our calls. I look forward to it now.